welcome back. My name is Raquel and I run the Customer Success Department at Promo Republic, but you may know me as the host of CMO Peer Talks, our CMO community for franchise marketers such as yourself. Welcome. We have Brooke Fitts, the former CEO of Profile by Sanford, the fractional CMO, and an entrepreneur herself. She's the founder, right? We can say founder of the Starter, the social content company. So would you like to tell us a little bit about that before we dive in today?
Sure, yeah. Jotter is really a social media content calendar, strategy, a way that franchisees can execute at the local markets without actually having to lift a finger. And so one of the challenges that I found as being a CMO at the franchisor level was providing all this beautiful content for our franchisees to execute, but they simply just didn't have the time to execute every day on their social media. And so because of that, developed a platform where we actually have writers who are writing and producing content for franchise brands on the daily so that they don't have to worry about it. We send it to them. All they have to do once a week is approve the content, and it gets posted on that calendar on that regular schedule. So it just takes one less thing off of their plate, and it's price effective. It allows them to not have to worry about their social presence because we're building it for them.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we relate to that obviously at Promo Republic.
Yes.
We have been talking to CMOs and marketing leaders all day about the trends that they saw from recession planning to a more, stronger year than anticipated to different challenges that they may have. I know you wear obviously multiple hats, like you've just mentioned, former CMO, fractional CMO, and founder. Can you talk about some challenges that when we heard the recession rumbles that you were planning for, and what maybe didn't pan out or planned out better that you thought?
Yeah, great question. And I think one of the pieces that the recession brings is innovation. I think that we as vendors need to get innovative in the way that we support this market, especially because franchisees are being squeezed from every direction, right? And so how can we get creative in how we support them with different types of services that allow them to continue to execute at the local level?
Yeah, absolutely. I think giving the franchisees the key to success is what everyone is really hoping for and finding answers. We're at IFA today, so everyone's kind of going booth to booth to see, okay, how can I actually make my franchisee successful? Do you have any KPIs that, as a consultant, maybe you're telling marketing departments that you have to track these across the board?
Yeah, I think the most important one for me is when I look at cost to acquire a consumer, right? And what that is compared to what your inputs are and your budgets are. I think doing the math backwards is always helpful in terms of what is my spend when it comes to my media buys? What is my spend when it comes to social? What is my spend when it comes to building my team internally? And so I think, what is the cost to acquire a customer, and what does that margin need to be in order for me to feel comfortable as a franchisee? And so I think working backwards from that allows you to build your business based on that margin.
Yeah,
would be the number one KPI I would look at.
I think that's really great advice. I think working backwards and really starting where you want to be and then how you get there and taking the steps of the journey is really important. And it's always that simple strategy, but simple, works, right? Effective, and that's why it's like a tried and tested method. What about any technologies? Have you implemented any, tech stacks at your organizations?
Yeah, I think obviously building Jotter, which is a SaaS platform that really allows my team to execute on behalf of franchisees, on behalf of their content. So other tech stacks that we used in the past that really find valuable, HubSpot is one that we built a lot of website, digital drip campaigns through email campaigns. When it comes to social, there's other social listening platforms that I think can be very valuable. But in terms of just immediate ROI on platforms, I think anything that can give the franchisee a place to do more than one thing that can be cost effective for them and where they're at in their local market. So I know that you all have a platform that I think is very useful at the franchisee level, that they can actually get a lot done without having to hire a lot of people to support those marketing efforts. And so I think finding something where I don't have to hire a lot of people, but I can get a lot done is really the key to a tech stack.
Absolutely. And we talk about technology comes automation as well. You're using SaaS platforms and other platforms out there to do the job of that third, fourth, fifth member that you might not be able to hire in person.
Yes.
What aspects would you say are worth automating, or those that, a human is really needed there?
Great question. I think in that actually is different depending on which franchisee you are, what type of industry you're in. I think there's a lot that plays into, does it make sense for me to bring this in-house, or does it make sense for me to use vendors for all of these things? And I would say it's different for every business. I've been 100%. In businesses where, because of the way that the budgets were structured, it made more sense for us to bring everything in-house, and so we did that. Also been in structures where it made more sense to hire vendors and work with agencies for all of our outsourced needs. So I think it really depends on the business, the industry, your budget. But again, also looking to consultants who've been there and done that to be able to help you determine, should I hire this, or should I be bringing a vendor to do it, and which actually is more cost effective for my business, or is going to make me the most money. That's what it comes down to.
Absolutely, it's that bottom line. Awesome. Now, we talk about automation through technology, but another really interesting piece of tech that I'm sure everyone's actually really tired of hearing this right now, is generative AI, and the most famous one right now is ChatGPT, where you can select a prompt or enter any prompt, any combination of ideas, and you have a fully automated, end results. Can you talk a little bit about that, especially where you have with Jotter, creating copy and all of that? How does that tie in?
Very excited about ChatGPT. I think it's going to revolutionize the way that marketers do business, not just marketers. Many different industries are going to benefit from this technology. With any technology, I think it comes with pros and cons. I would take social media in that same, right? Like, social media took off, we all had to jump on board. It's the new place for us to do our marketing. ChatGPT is going to be no different for writers, for business people, for students, right? Like, this is a technology that is a tool that now we can use in our everyday. And so for one, I think it's going to be a great asset for all industries. I think we are going to have to be careful in how we use it, and obviously it's going to come down to what type of, where do you feel comfortable in leveraging this sort of content? Where do you feel comfortable in leveraging this sort of technology? And I really do think that we should be investigating more on how we can implement it in everything that we do in business. So I think it's great. I think it provides efficiencies. I think it's very fun. I think when you can tell the computer that I want the voice of the content to be in Matthew McConaughey's tone, and have it talk about social media, I think it's a really fun thing that we can utilize. But it's just making sure that we're responsible with it, making sure that how we use it is done ethically.
100%. What about any experiments? Because obviously right now in the franchise space or in any industry, ChatGPT and generative AI is more of like an experiment right now, where we're on the front end, we're seeing it go. Would you say you've experimented with anything that has been a total fail, that it's like a forewarning to other marketers out there? Because I think we all are here to share our successes and what has worked, but I think also sharing what didn't work for us is also helpful to someone out there that's maybe testing the same thing and it's not working for.
100%, I would agree with that. Gal, putting me on the spot on this.
I know.
Let me, Gal. There's definitely, obviously, I in 18 years of being in marketing, I've definitely had my failures and learned from those. And mostly, I would say it was probably more on the business model side. It was more on the looking at budgets and looking at what do we outsource, what do we hire for, how do we make sure that we're structuring the folks that we're bringing on board, that their skill sets are actually meeting the needs. Somebody is a social media expert, that can mean very many different things to different people. And so hiring, I think, has changed a lot. And so I would say from some of the fails I've made is maybe hiring people too quickly and being eager to get them in and not maybe vetting them enough to understand the actual skill set and being able to execute. Or being able to put them in a position to thrive, right? And so I think that is probably over the 18 years of building organizations and working with companies. I think hiring is probably one of them that I think could go, that definitely could learn from. So.
Yeah, I think that's really great feedback as well, because one wrong hire could totally construe the business, and one great hire can grow it exponentially. So I think that is really great words of wisdom. And speaking of the final words of wisdom, any advice out there to any future CMOs, directors of marketing right now that are building the business?
Sure. So I think when looking at who you're working for, who you're representing as a brand, where you want to build your strategy around is really what's at the heart of the consumer and the people that are working for you. And so you need to be where the consumer is at. And so building your strategy around their needs and loving on them and providing the best experience possible, no matter if that's as they're walking in your brick and mortar or if they're reading about your brand for the first time on Facebook or Instagram. So I think it's really just about meeting your customers where they are.
Really well said. Well, thank you so much for your time today. And again, this was an installment of CMO Peer Talks, the #1 community for franchise marketers. We had today Brooke Fitts, former CMO, fractional CMO, and founder. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.